Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Emergence of Being, a kind of a spontaneous, later than we usually stream, also working through all kinds of technology issues, but we are here.
We are.
We are. And the best
We
thing
are.
we can do is talk to your comments, your questions, or just see what the energy is of the day. But everything that we talk about is really all about you stepping into your unique voice in this world and more confidence, with more elevation, and just being able to live your best life. That's what it's all about. And through relationships or through your whatever you have going on. I think that sums us up pretty well, right?
Yes, being able to live, it is all about um, being able to live your best life. Is that not what it's all about? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the first step is to let go of any judgment you have of what your best life looks like.
Yes. I have a little picture in my kitchen that says, let go of the life. It goes something like, let go of the life that you have planned as so to open to the life that is like there for you. That's not the exact conversion of it, but that's pretty much what it said. So we
Right.
plan for things, yet other things show up, right?
Yeah. And I think this stems from when we're kids. It's all, and my friend Prom says this beautifully in his workshops through Baldwin Wallace. He talks about when you're in, preschool, you look at your brother who's in kindergarten, like, oh, kindergarten, that's where it's at. Then you get to kindergarten, then it's like third grade, that's where it's at. I can't wait to get to third grade. Then it's middle school, then it's high school, then it's college. Then it's like, well, wait, where it's really at is when I get my real job and then get married and kids. And you're always fractioning back or out further and further, not showing up for the life you're living. And then you
Yeah.
finally get to retirement and you look back to kindergarten, you go, that's where it was at.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Yeah. Isn't that the truth? We always look for Christmas is another example. We always, as kids, we look forward to Christmas. As adults, we're like, oh my gosh, Christmas again.
No,
All
I
this
like
stuff
Christmas
has to
all.
happen.
But Anya just saw a cool meme, or was it just a post? I forget. But it said the grass. People say the grass is always greener on the other side, but that is you have to water the grass where you're at if you want it to be green. But if you're always focused on where you're not at and how it is over there, do the process in your own life to reap the seeds that have been sown instead of looking at
Yes.
everybody else's flowering seeds. It's like, well, what are you doing for your possibilities and your potentialities? We're taught to fractionate at such a young age. And then that's the real friction and suffering in life, is not being an allowance of where you're at. And once you're an allowance of where you're at, that's when you really have the ability to navigate to where you would like your life to evolve to.
Yeah, that is the key to really being in the present moment, the present process, as well as navigating and being in the place to plan a little bit for the future, because we kind of have to do that. But bring yourself back to the present moment, because everything is in the present moment. In this moment, you are safe. In this moment, you have a roof over your head. In this moment, you have food. In this moment, you are okay, versus moving forward to things that may never even happen. And so we do that a lot. We're always in the future. We're often in the past. So that's what we talked about a few sessions ago, is living in the past trauma, and energizing the past traumas, which is bringing you nothing really, but energizing the past trauma and probably bringing you more suffering and grief. So you look at them and say, okay, they were there, but they're gone. And let's focus on and creating something new, and spending a little bit of time cleaning up the past, but not sitting there and using that as a propellant for why you can't do things in the future.
I don't know if I froze or you froze. We switched sides. That's weird.
Is
Hello.
it, it's still Mercury retrograde?
I,
Probably.
I think so. That was really bizarre. Okay, I just hit the
Okay.
button to bring up Mike's hello, and then we switched spots, so that shouldn't happen. I can switch us back though, I think. There we
There.
go. Yeah, but I did
Deck
that
of
on purpose. The
cards.
other one wasn't on purpose. Anyway, so one of the things that goes along with what we're talking about, and we've talked about it before, is the idea that you need something in order to be something. Like in Neil Donald Walsh's work and a lot of mystics work, it talks about beingness needs to come first. You need to choose the being, and then you get to do things to express the being. But if you think you need the thing they call a job, to have the thing they call money, to be the thing they call secure, you got it backwards. Feel secure, knowing that you're an infinite being and there's nothing that you cannot not exist. Like we have a lot of fear around that. But at the end of the day, if you can be the energy first, be happy, be joyful, be content, all these things, then you get experiences the universe delivers you to express that beingness through doing. But we are human beings, not human doings. But we are, especially in the West, man, we are taught to be a human doing because that's more profitable.
Yes, yes. If you visit other places, if you have the capability and have the opportunity even to visit other countries, it is a whole different world. And I encourage that if you have the opportunity to visit a different country to get and see different perspectives, it is extremely helpful and different. And you'll see what we create here, what energy we like to create here. Because some of the poorest countries, they don't even concern themselves with conditions. They are happy. In Ecuador, I have a acquaintance that does mission trips in Ecuador, and she said those people have so little, and they have, there's a lot of dirt, and their health is not the best, but they are so happy with just the minimal amount that they have. So
Mhm.
I feel like if you give the brain more, then we want more. We want the next shiny, bright thing. And it really takes control of the soul to say, things will lose their luster. You get a new car, and I'm sure everybody's experienced this. Oh, I want that new car. You get a new car, and within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it's like, okay, great. What's next? What's the next? What next dinner will you put in front of me? And then we want the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing, and then you're never really satiated. If you can get to a point in life where you can take it or leave it, and you're happy with or without it, is when the magic happens.
Yeah, and Neil Donald Walsh talks about this in his work about having preferences. So, like, if you have a preference for chocolate ice cream versus a requirement, like if they're out of chocolate, no big deal, I'll take vanilla. But if something external to you takes away your state of being, he looks at that as more of an addiction. And also on that same note, another little reference from Prom, he would say that to give two exampling contrasts of the opposites, you could have a child getting out of a Cadillac Escalade with boxes and boxes and bags of toys, crying inconsolably because they were out of the one GI Joe they really wanted, and then you could have children on the streets in rags playing with a broken bat and a stick or something and a ball, having a time of their life, being joyful. And so it's like, is it really the external condition or is it something internal that determines the experience?
It is internal. It is always internal.
Yeah. And I just sent, I hope I can remember this, all the details of this. I just sent this video to someone today where they talk about how projections create like your expectations are projections that they then created. They did this study where they had women who were told that they were going to go into a job interview, and they wanted to see, the study was all about seeing how, if you were scarred up and your face was messed up, that how that would change how you're being perceived and in an interview. And so what they didn't tell them is after they put the scars in their face, when they were just doing the touch up, they removed the scars. So they
Mm.
go into the interview, and then after the interview, they come out and they're just saying how they said this and that, and they just received that they were treated so differently because of their scars on their face, because that was their projection, that was their expectation, but the reality was it wasn't there, and it was all a figment. It was all just they expect. It's like they say, the man who thinks he's going to die tomorrow will usually find a way to do it.
Mhm.
So, like, where have you been stuck with the point of view and creating your reality because what you're taught to expect, and because what you taught to expect is what you project, and because of what you project is exactly what you experience.
So good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was a scientific study, and it really, like, how much of what you receive from people is your own doing, and I am guilty of this.
We
I
all
am
are.
way, oh yeah. But it's about to start noticing when you're doing that and asking the question, is what's showing up because of it's really my preference? If what you're experiencing is not your preferred reality, where have you bought in? Where have you been a belief thief?
Oh, belief thief. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, where have you been a belief thief? And because of the belief that you got stuck with, you are now creating a reality that is not one that you would most prefer.
Hmm.
And so when you're having suffering and all these things, what it really is, it's a signal to say that you are not lined up with what you truly know to be true. And where do you have to kind of excavate and start to shove out, the things that don't really serve you.
Right. It, there was a saying that pain happens, but suffering is a choice.
Right.
So, where do you focus on the things that are happening? And then it all comes back down to what's the favorite line? Hank, you got to put that down.
Oh,
Energy
yeah,
goes where
the energy
attention
goes
flows.
where attention
So,
flows. I
where are
gotta
you
take this call. I keep
put
who's
your
coming in.
blindfolds on to this is where I keep repeating. The other thing that look at the daily thoughts that you have. It's usually the same thing that you think about. You go to bed, you wake up, you start thinking about the same thing. What is that? Like your kids, your relationship, something that you need a solution to, and you keep repeating that. You are energizing that problem. You keep thinking about it.
Mhm.
So, where and what are you focusing on that is perhaps even your preferred reality that you think needs to be a certain way, and you can't get out of it because that's what the brain just keeps going back to, keeps going back to the same thing, the same repetitive thoughts day after day after day after day. Watch your thoughts. It's very fascinating. I started doing that. Like, yeah, wow. We think about the same series of things until that's resolved. Then we go on to something else. It's interesting. The brain will continue to repeat that. And when you're repeating that, well, then what are you energizing? You're energizing that
Yeah.
situation.
And I think one of the best things, and this is something that I recently have committed to doing, is write yourself a list the night before of just the things that you'd like to do the following day, including starting your day with a couple positive affirmations or affirmations,
Sure.
because you tend to wake up and you have the same recurrent thought. And
Mhm.
rather than getting into your unconscious and allowing yourself just to get thrashed around on the waters of fate, start to create your destiny by having a set intention and a plan the day before, because I know for myself, if I wake up the day of and then I start to make a list, it does not work out really well. But if I make my list the day before and send it to a person or two that I just want to be a witness, that you don't even have to use the word accountability, you're only accountable to yourself. Okay. But
Yeah.
we tend to, when we have a witness to that, that's why accountability partners work so well. But if someone else knows what you're holding yourself accountable for, then you just have a little bit extra motivation because you have more eyes on it. Not that they can make you do it or not do it, but
Yeah.
but it
I
helps.
love that. Accountability, I think, is almost it's everything because you're more sometimes we are not are the best personal coaches to ourselves. So when you have somebody that you're accountable to, whether that's a friend or whether you are paying somebody, there's more value if you pay somebody whatever fee that is. um, you have a tendency to follow through and do those things. You'll see
Hmm.
that it's been proven in studies that this is what happens. So sometimes, people get upset or I've saw somebody get upset, like, why isn't they're not running this like little challenge for free? Why is there a $27 charge? Some of us can't afford that. Well, there's a reason for that because you're more likely to show up when you've paid, no matter what it is, versus if you haven't. There's just something
Hmm.
about the value and showing up and having an accountability to getting the results or having a friend or having a coach. And some people like they don't know that the magic can happen when you have that accountability.
Yeah.
It gets you out of your space to be able to create what you want to create.
And there's an example of that every year. I think he still does it. Neil Donald Walsh has an event called Homecoming, and he does in his hometown in Oregon a free workshop. And when he did that, you could just register for free and you would show up. He found that like half the people didn't show. And so now what he did is like, you pay $500, but when you walk through the door, here's your $500 back. But you have to put some skin in the game. You don't show up, you don't get your $500 back. But now everybody showed up, and that's the thing. Like if you don't have some sort of exchange, some sort of transaction to like, it's kind of like you're adding a physical representation to the intention by
Mhm.
telling somebody, being witnessed, and all that. But if it's just you, yourself, and your soul, if you're just in your head, your ego, edging God out, will love to talk you out of anything that you want to do in terms of your possibilities. It would rather you choose to pass because it knows it. Talk about a possibility, it freaks out. We don't know what's going to happen, and then anxiety sets in, and then fear sets in, and you're just like, I can't do that, but you totally can.
You can. And I think this might be off on a tangent, but I guess like
We love
finance,
tangents.
we love tangents. What's expensive? What is expensive to you? Meaning the term expensive, $5, $10, $20, $2,500, 3,000, 10,000. What's expensive? What is the relevance? We had a whole, I don't know how long ago we did that on money. Money's just an energy, guys. And sometimes you have to put the cart before the horse, because say you spend 700 on something. You've spent this before, guys. You've spent it on some sort of Christmas gift or something. But then when it comes to your own evolution and you spend this, you look at it and the ego's like, oh my God, no, that's so expensive. No way. But you spend it, and then on the other side, your whatever health issue completely improves. Now you can go do jumping jacks, you can go run with your kids, and then you're like, it was worth every penny. But had you listened to the ego and say, oh, I just can't do that right now, maybe that's going to get you to the next job, and you get a job that pays you 3 times what the other one. Are you going to look back and say, oh, sorry, we have a guest. Was that 700 even? You're going to look back and you're not even going to remember what that was, because you're going to be so in awe, and my life is so much better, and I'm in this new space now, and I have a new relationship, and I have a new job, and my health is better. You're not even going to bat an eyelash. But when you come up against it, then it's expensive. What is expensive to you? Like, what is expensive?
And also, where we spend money on everything but us, like you said, like where have you been taught to undervalue yourself, or as how many kids are taught put everybody before you?
Mhm,
You
mhm,
know, you come last, and
mhm.
we have to unprogram that and learn that self first is not selfish. And if you do focus on yourself, not at the expense of somebody else's bubble, because there's selfish, it does exist too. But it's like, where can you bend without breaking your authenticity, and then also allowing yourself to receive, because we're almost awkward to receive, and also that if we receive something, doesn't obligate us to reciprocate in a tit for tat type of transactional way. And like sometimes then you don't want to receive things, and then that's one part of it. Then the other part is the value. You'd rather spend money on junk food than on something healthy.
Yeah. And those things will come and go. You'll eat the food, you will buy the furniture, it will degrade, it will rust, it will, all that's, but you have evolved. So you're right. We are taught to put everybody else first. And I tell clients 2 things. You are your biggest investment in this life. Your evolution is the biggest investment. And know you, nothing else. So if you're failing in your life in multiple places, you're stressed, your health isn't where it needs to be, everything else in your life is suffering tremendously. You are losing the energy of money in other spaces of your life, because you can't do all those things that you want to do. You can't get to the next space. You can't maybe get to the next job because you're exhausted. You can't
Hmm.
even get a job at all because your health isn't not in good shape, but you'd like to work, you'd like to have fun, you'd like to go out. Well, somewhere you have to invest in yourself and in the energy of bringing something in that will propel you to the next level, because if there's no value, then the tendency is not to show up and not put the energy in. It's a very fascinating thing, this concept and this energy of money. And we've gone off on a tangent, so we can come back in, but it's all about, we were talking about perception and being in the presence and
Hmm.
the understanding of things, because it's so multidimensional. There's so many nooks and crannies of ways that things are and why they are, and our need for understanding these things, or maybe not. Like, I have a need for understanding those things, a desire for
Well,
understanding those things.
desire for awareness, perhaps, like there in access, one of the things that you taught, and there's I think an element of truth to it. If you put out to the energy, I want to, so use understanding lightly. I want to understand so and so and why they're choosing the way they're choosing. You might unconsciously create the same circumstances. So, like if you want to understand how somebody could bully someone, what if you unconsciously create a circumstance where all of a sudden you're bullying someone and that you get the awareness? So,
Mm,
understanding and awareness, just be mindful of what you want to understand. Like I know, like there's chronic figure people out people, you know.
figure out. Yeah, I've been through that. Like, and then once you gain the understanding, it's like, oh, then you look at yourself and you're like, ugh, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
I didn't
Well,
really understand what that person was going through. And now I do, because I'm going through it. So,
Well, and when I've noticed so many times, especially if you have a lot of close relationships or whatnot, that you might see one thing in one relationship, and all of a sudden there's a parallel to another relationship, and then you see another parallel, and just through everyday experience, like you really can see, oh, I see this now from the flip side. I see this now from that side. And the other thing I wanted to mention with the investment in yourself, one of the classes I just took, I forget the teacher, but he said, we have been designed in our current like government economy, that type of thing, live long, or what was it? Live short, die long. Now I'm getting, see, I'm screwing it up. He said, what you want to do is you want to live long and die quick. But what we have created in this country, you live long and take a long time to die, and your quality of life suffers. And that's just the nature of everything that we have been conditioned to do for ourselves or not for ourselves, as the case may be, and like processed foods and all kinds of stuff. But what you really want to do is have that investment because, like Barbara Sanson, one of my teachers said, your breath is the first and last possession in this life. And
Yes.
that's the only real possession that you really have. Everything else is borrowed, rented, just within your vicinity. The breath is the only thing you truly own. And even that you'll leave behind. So this soul walk that you have for the evolution of what and who you really are, that's all you got. So invest in it. Well,
So
you really have a friend going.
he really would like to be on the show today. So that has so many good key points. I think we spend so much time in suffering when you could technically, remediate that by getting some help and being on the fast track and fixing that. That's one thing. And the whole dying quick, I thought just popped into my head. And I did a little Facebook quick video on this probably last year on cancer. There's so many places where I see F cancer, F cancer. Well, there's two ways you're going to leave this planet. You're either going to die of that or transition of that. It's either going to be quick or it's going to be slow. It's going to be one of those two things. So which is the bigger gift? You're not escaping here. So is it easier if you, and I'm not saying cancer's easy, but if you have time to plan and you have time to get the things off the bucket list and you have time to make amends and you have time to even the opportunity to change your life because you've been given a condition and that could completely turn around, you could heal versus you go very, very quickly with, I don't know, plane or car accident or something like that. Which is harder? I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
it's all subjective, just like what's expensive.
exactly. But don't be so quick to say of cancer because cancer does give you the gift of planning, potentially changing and healing, doing things off the bucket list, not having that extreme trauma of, when you have something impactful, somebody tells you somebody just, whatever, I got killed in a car accident. What do you feel? It's like, oh, it's like a meteor that hits you. Versus if you get the news, it's a smaller meteor and it's like, okay, well, what are we going to do? You can still come up with a plan. Whereas if it's a quick thing, you have to take that in and process that very quickly versus cancer or another condition that you may be able to process with a little more ease and time. So there's gifts. There's always a bless in the mess. You have to find it.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, like, was it Osho? He said that he's never met anybody who's actually had a problem, only people who make problems. And all of life is just circumstance and events that you get to make into whatever you would like to create. And you could be a negative Nancy, or you can find the bless in the mess. And it's all up to us what we want to do with what life has served up. And cancer can be a tremendous gift in terms of, like you said, like a wake up call, changing how one lives their life, and the quality of time that you have with that time left might be an entire lifetime's worth of living in however much time you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like really, I loved the show Dr. House. Did you ever watch that?
Yeah.
Hugh Laurie. There was one episode where Dr. Wilson gave a patient a diagnosis of cancer, and then he was wrong. He didn't have cancer, but the guy sued him because they changed his life and they sold their house and they planned all this stuff, and he was like getting ready to ramp up and live his life. And then when he found out he wasn't dying, he was upset. He was like, what do you mean I don't, but so like just an example, like some people get that news or whatever, and it is like a wake up call. It shakes them awake, literally. And they start showing up for their reality and actually choosing to live. And it's a big difference.
That's a gift. That's a gift. So there's so many little nuances and everything, and so many lessons, I'd say, in all the little things of life. So being in more awareness to see that lesson. And then we have the mind that gets in there and just really screws everything, the ego that just screws everything up. It's like, but I don't want to fixate on it. I want to be positive. But the brain just keeps bringing you back. The mind, should I say, keeps bringing you back, keeps bringing you back. Well, that takes diligence and sometimes help to clear out some of those energetic stuck pieces that just won't move. So there's a lot of parts and pieces to this that need work and that need some cleanup. And that's part of the progression of life. If you can live your life with consistent evolution of yourself, then that is, I think, a life well lived. You are your biggest investment in this life. So don't shortchange yourself. Material things will come and go.
Yeah.
You can't take it with
Technically,
you.
yeah,
You
can't
can't
take
take
it
it.
with you. Magic Mike, I don't have full context for what you're offering, though. Like, we have a couple comments, but I don't know where to go with. One of the things that could probably help, like one of the things I'm seeing from Mike's comment, is theta healing. And in theta healing, it's all about like, in order to kind of step out of the ego, sometimes you might need a little help. And one of the things you can do is make yourself more subjective to shifts and change by altering where your brain is literally waving at. And so you have like alpha, beta, theta is a big one, and delta. And in theta state, that's like where you have hypnosis and you have guided meditations. You have like, imagine like hard clay, right? At the right conditions, that clay is moldable more so than other times. Instead of crumble, you can actually mold it and make it take shape. Theta state can really help mold and
Yeah.
shape like where you're at, is to use an analogy with it. So like if you, because ego, we've empowered the ego a lot.
Yes.
We've given the ego more power than it actually has. Like think about ego as the prism, the water balloon skin that holds your drop of the ocean separate from the ocean. It is the prism in which you get to experience your individuality. But now we have empowered it to be like all this other stuff where really it's just the capacity to experience in a unique way. But we give it all this power and then disempower ourselves. You take the power back. Take the power back that you are actually the one in charge of your life, body, being, mind, spirit, and beyond. And by taking back that power, you have the ability to mold that clay and create with it, create for yourself what you would actually prefer to experience in this life.
Yeah.
And Mike brings up theta healing. Theta healing is all about getting to the core belief. If you're not getting the preferred reality that you would like, where have you aligned and agreed with or resisted and reacted to a point of view or belief, being a belief thief, that really isn't what you truly believe, and you are creating skewed. You're not creating in a congruent way, and instead of creating your best life, you're creating your dad's best life, or your brother's best life, whoever you decided really had it made, and the grass was greener on the other side. Instead of watering your grass for your possibilities, you're just envying someone else's green grass, and for them their grass isn't green, yours is green.
Yeah, there's so many nuggets coming up now. How much time do you spend, yeah, focusing on somebody else, focusing on the blame of somebody else versus pulling your power back in and just watching them? The key to life really is being the observer, being the bystander observer. It's just like watching traffic go by, just, oh, there's cars going by, there's cars going by, versus getting so down the rabbit hole with my
Mhm.
sister, just, I can't believe that's all you focus on. It's all you talk about. My sister, she's nasty. Avoid getting involved. Let her be her. She's stuck in her own space. Work on you. That's all you can do. For the longest time when I was in a relationship, I was trying to change somebody else. Like if I do this, or if I'm going to be nice and then I'm going to be mean, and I'm going to see if this helps. Till finally I got to the point of like, well, no, I got to come in and be working on myself. And then
Mhm.
everything changed. When I pulled the power back in and started meditating and started doing all these other things, everything changed. And I was like, whoa, this is not, it was a 17-year long lesson, but really understanding that you are not the body, you are not the emotions, you are not the thoughts, you are the soul. And we've forgotten that. For some people, that may be really woo woo, but where the heck do you think you came from? You
Yeah.
think you're just this skin, this hand, and that's it? You're so much more than that. And you can prove that in so many ways. So if you think that's not true, that you just die and it's just you're just thrown in a coffin and then it's over, you're not. Your essence has been, you are, and you always will be. So you came from somewhere. You didn't just appear.
Mhm.
And so that energy energy can never be destroyed. It can only be transferred. So you are an energy, and you will always remain. And that may be really out there for some of you people, but start thinking
Mhm.
about it. Like,
Yeah.
look up in the sky. There's a whole universe beyond here that we can't even comprehend. So the mind is very limited, but you as the soul have so much more power. And when you feel out of control, that means the soul doesn't have control and the ego does. I think of the ego as, you kind of, your energy pops into this body and the ego is kind of already in here. It's just like a computer program that starts running and doing its thing. So you're constantly trying to negotiate with the ego. And that's what
Mhm.
it's kind of about, going beyond the ego, or saying, hey, I know I'm in this body and I have this program that's somewhere in here doing its thing, but I'm much bigger and stronger than that. And the ego can sit to the side. It is there to protect me. It is there to analyze. It is there to help you with the worldly things. But there's so much more than that. So start pondering some of these things versus getting tangled up in stories within your family, because I see that a lot too, like
Yeah.
sister, my husband, and that's all you focus on. That's all you focus on and nothing else. Like, bring it back to you, because all you can control is you. See them as a car that keeps passing by. And
Yeah.
yes, I know they may push buttons, but bring it back to you. It's their stuff. Look at what role you're playing in it and deal with that. Not get down the rabbit hole with their stuff.
And last call for questions, because I have a call I have to take at 1, so it'll be a rapid departure once we hit the 1 o'clock
Rapid
mark.
departure.
Rapid
Sounds
departure.
like a plane. We are
Yeah,
taking off.
we had a delayed start and a rapid departure. But the thing that was coming up for me while you were talking with that is like this idea that you need to change your external. Well, two things. One, your story is the wake of the boat. The wake of the boat does not power the boat, so don't empower the story. The story was great. It was the pressure to create the pearl of wisdom for the knowledge that you get to share with your fellow travelers. And I keep looking at the wrong camera. I'm so sorry, because this camera doesn't work and I'm supposed to look here. Anyway, and then the other thing is, like, when you're trying to change other people, I challenge everybody, if creation is within you and not outside of you, if everything's really within you, go to the mirror and try to make the reflection in the mirror smile first. It will not happen. It's only an internal change that will then affect the external experience.
Mhm.
And that's like the invitation that even quantum physics is starting to show this, how it's all really, it's all connected and it's all entwined, string theory and all this stuff. But if you really start thinking about it, if all of creation is within you and you're trying to force change on something, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. We've talked about this before, but you can change the internal state of how you're receiving reality, surrendering to what's there, choosing differently, being the space of allowance. And in the space of non-judgment, all of a sudden the person that was driving you nuts just shifts, because you're not
Mhm.
judging it anymore. Or
Totally.
even better yet, like, where in you do you need to make the change to see what you want to see? Be the change you want to see. That's what I've been posting as a lot of my hashtags with the memes. Oh, and that was the final thing that I had thought of. There's a wonderful meme that says, the truth is the truth regardless. Bullshit requires your belief.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, cool. But any last minute, well, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, say, because I'll have 1 minute of before the phone rings. Any last minute questions or comments? Dr. K, do you have anything coming up that you want to let people know about?
Not really. I'm still in the process of rebranding. There will be some goodies that I will pop on maybe next time.
Oh, very cool. And for me, the only thing I got going is this Friday. We are starting the apprenticeship program. It's going to be 7 weekends over 7 months, 1 weekend a month, plus the weekly online content. So if you feel the call of the shaman of the Pakukuna tradition of Peru, then message me and we can see if we can make that a reality for you. But right now we have like a group of 13 people right now, maybe, and possibly 15. I am talking to 2 people a little bit. And so we have a wonderful group of students about to embark on this amazing, like, something that's totally changed my life and my ability to receive life on life's terms, and then just to choose who I'm going to be and express myself as in relation or creationship to it. That's what the gifts I've gotten from going through and doing that work. So
Awesome.
yeah,
You
cool.
create your own life, guys. And if you need help, so that's my thoughts. Number one, you create your own life. Number two, get the help if you need. If you're stuck and you can't see, get the accountability. Get somebody to help you push through it so you can get to the other side. Number three, invest in yourself and your evolution so you can have the better and brighter and biggest, most optimal life.
Yeah, it's really about the witnessing, having somebody witness what you're choosing, because it just makes it more tangible.
Totally. Ah, absolutely. Absolutely.
live, since I